if you're in the sandwich generation, you're caring for aging parents while you're still trying to live your own life. You know this truth all too well, that we usually don't do anything until there's a 911 moment. And that might be someone falls. It might be the phone calls that don't get answered for a couple of days. It might be well, I thought everything was fine until it's not. My guest today on the Advanced Adulting podcast is Matt Guerrieri. He's the CMO of Medical Guardian, and we talk openly about what it really means to keep our parents safe and independent while aging at home. We're going to talk about why families wait until it's way too late to have this conversation, and how do you talk to a stubborn, fiercely independent parent. I had one of those. We're going to talk about the emotional whiplash that comes from being a caregiver, and we're going to talk about the inside story about medical alert devices, technology, and why a lot of people misunderstand them or misuse them. And we're going to talk about the truth about falls, isolation, and what's preventable. So let's get started talking with Matt Guerrieri of Medical Guardian. I'm Bradley Richardson, and this is Advanced Adulting. Matt Guerrieri, welcome to Advanced Adulting.
Thanks, Bradley. It's great to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I am excited to talk to you because we're going to cover a lot of topics that are important to a lot of people. And it's something I've lived with personally. It has a personal impact on me. And I wish that we would have had this conversation many years ago. I want to start by kind of telling you a quick story that I think that why I wish we'd have met years ago. So my mother, I grew up in Texas. My mother had lived in far west Texas. I was in Dallas. My sister was in Atlanta. And we checked in, like a lot of people, checking in on their parents every couple of days. She lived alone. And one day we didn't hear from her, and she didn't pick up. And my sister and I were worried. And it became 2 days. We were really worried now at this point. And it ends up that we were able to connect with an old childhood friend back home who got the police, the fire department involved. They get into my mom's house and find out that she'd fallen in the shower and broken her shoulder and had been there for 2 days waiting, and we had no idea. And that right there, that fall, that not knowing set off this incredible 911 of caregiving, because we knew that we're going to have to do something about her at some point, but it wasn't until a crisis happened that everything set in motion. And, let's talk about that for a second. I mean, I know I'm not alone on that, and that's what you all really do and serve is why does it take a 911 event for someone to start thinking about caregiving?
It's a great question. I hope your mother's okay. It's so awful to hear those stories, but oftentimes it's more of those stories than not that we're hearing, right? It's too late. It's a reactive experience, and now we've decided to get a service like Medical Guardian as opposed to more of a proactive approach. Well, I think that it's a difficult question to ask. I think a lot of caregivers, which right now are about 4 to 1. So there's for every 4 older adults, there's 1 caregiver. Also about 16 million of them are in a sandwich generation, which means they're not only taking care of parents, they're also taking care of their kids. It's really difficult. You have a lot of things that you're managing. You have your work, you have your kids, you have a number of obstacles in your path, and you have your parents. And that's even its own interesting exchange, because you've gone from somebody taking care of you to
Right.
Now they may not be as independent and you're taking care of them, which is just a really, in general, a very awkward exchange for most people who can't get comfortable in that type of
Right.
flip of the script. So I think most people naturally, as children, from what we see and hear from the surveys that we've done, the focus groups that we've done, are they don't want to force their parents or feel like they're babying their parents into a situation where now they've become the caregiver. They
Right.
want to continue to help the parent remain independent, to give them their freedom, and they don't want to apply that level of pressure. And then separately, the caregiver wants to continue to live life independently, so they don't bring up issues about inability to be mobile as much as they were, or certain illnesses or conditions that they have because they want to continue to remain independent. Like it's this magnetic field where the magnets are pushing against each other, and it's only until that event happens where it clicks. It's like, all right, well, now we don't have a decision anymore,
Right.
and we combat that daily here, because we're trying to get people more proactive, first more aware that these solutions even exist, and
Right.
more proactive to start looking into these earlier.
I think that's the thing, and that it's more common than not. Is something's coming. I mean, like we're coming up on the holiday season right now when we're recording this, and people are going to be going home, and sometimes they may only see their older parent once or twice a year, and sometimes you see that decline, and unfortunately, you're right. It's not something that neither the older individual or loved one wants to talk about. No one wants to face their decline or their mortality or anything. And as an adult child, you don't want to bring it up. I mean, in that situation with my sister and myself, we kicked that can down the road for 2 years. We knew, hey, she's living alone. Something's going to happen. One day it's going to happen. Sure enough, it did. And I think that's the chance. You hit it right on the head. Not only, and we can talk in a moment about just the lack of staffing and how things are, but more people are wanting to live at home now. And so this is something you're going to have to actually think about and have that difficult conversation. What as we come into this season, what does proactive really look like though? I mean, we can talk about it, but what are some steps that people can take to actually be proactive?
I've thought about this a lot as I start to think about even I have 3 girls myself, a 10-month-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And I even started thinking I learned so much throughout this process about how the body ages, and how you have to be so even proactive about your health.
Right.
Where I started to now think about how am I maintaining so that when I turn 70 or 80 years old, that I can continue to live independently. So I think the mindset starts early. I think that it's starting to shift. You can see it in the space, the Oura Rings, the Apple Watches, the health and wellness has become a trend and something that people are very interested in getting insights to. Clearly, health at home has become a very big trend. There's ways to now take your blood at home, take colon samples at home.
Right.
And so people are very interested in prolonging their health and longevity. I think that's the first step, is starting with the younger generation and getting them trained to be more proactive about looking into these solutions. I think the other thing is to realize that these devices are meant to also help you with potential non-emergencies, which most people think that, I'm going to have to push the button, I'm going to get 911 service. The service is set up so that any instance of any emergency, I'll give you an example. We had an individual who simply couldn't get off, embarrassingly enough, the toilet seat. Their leg strength had gone, and so they couldn't lift themselves up. And that's a good example of that is not a 911 emergency, that you're not in your mother's situation where she can't move for 2 days straight, which is awful, but you're in a situation where you need help. And so that's where the service comes in. The service is meant to connect you with a third-party monitoring center that can help you navigate your situation, determine what type of solution you need, whether it's connecting with your care circle, which you set upon ordering our services, or whether it really truly is fire, police, or emergency services, and then doing the appropriate dispatching to get you the help you need and to provide the information about the individual on the call, so that when they show up, that they know more about you and they understand not only your location, but who you are, and what kind of service you need.
Let's talk a little more about that, because I think just to the layperson here just watching, you mentioned the other device. You mentioned like an Apple Watch. Okay, I got one of those. And I thought, what a cool feature. I'll fall, if I fall or if I'm out hiking or something and I fall, it'll alert someone. But will it really? Services like yours are a little different, because tell me the difference between what monitored help is versus 911 versus just, hey, I got something to tell me if I hit my head. What's the difference there, and why does monitoring stand out?
Yeah, and I can put you in touch with my COO who can go into very specific details about how the entire system works. She's done tremendous
Right.
amounts of research, very detail oriented around making sure that this is buttoned up. But at its basic form, when you push a button on your Apple Watch or the fall detection goes off on your Apple Watch, it's calling 911 specifically. And 911 is a dispatch center. They're using triangulation to try to figure out your location if you can articulate it correctly, but they really know nothing about you. They know that you're calling from a device and that they're going to try to get you help based off of where you tell them to get help. With our service, it's far different. So what you're doing is when you're onboarding, you're giving your location, you're giving your information, you're building a profile. So we understand more about your health conditions, your caregiver circle, and who you want contacted in certain situations. So even if it is emergency, you have an emergency chain where your caregivers get contacted in an orderly fashion so that
Right.
they're aware of the situation. And most importantly, we know your location. These devices have GPS, Wi-Fi, triangulation. We also push towards a monitoring center that is triple backup redundant and certified. So that means if one center goes down in an emergency like a hurricane, the next center opens up. If that one goes down, the next center opens up. So there's very much fail-proof patterns that kind of overlay on top of each other to ensure that level of security and safety in that emergency. And I think the biggest part of this is that again, it's the simplest form. We know who you are. We know more about you than 911 knows. We know exactly where you've fallen, whether it be a fall detection or whether you actually push the button and communicated. And we can get you service and help in a timely manner. And that time, there's a ton of research on the speed to which you get help. And what lying on the floor for a period of time, the longer you're on the floor, the worse the health condition gets, right? The worse the damage is. The body is not meant to lie still for that long. And so the speed to help is extraordinarily important in these type of scenarios.
One thing I think that sticks out with me with you all and the monitoring versus a 911. And again, no one's saying, there aren't moments when you need 911. That's not it. It's just, there's so many things that occur that really don't require the whole giant fire truck coming. And I remember with my own mom, it was, she fell several other times too. And it was just, we needed some things. And it was the embarrassment outside of her joking around of, oh, look at these cute firemen coming, talk to me. It was this idea of that was an embarrassment, and it's expensive as all get out too. And you don't need that every time. Sometimes it's these types of other things. Tell me a little bit about those types of, I'm sure you have examples of real life situations of people who can use a monitor, but they don't need the full 911 and how you all can help them through that.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do at Medical Guardian is we're trying to evolve our services. We're getting into now design of the devices and how they look and how they feel, the functionality of them, the extended battery life. We do a lot of focus groups and listening on what older adults want. And honestly, it's to be confident in being independent, is to live that life that you want to live independently without the fear of what's going to happen next. And so we've layered in a lot of additional services that we're launching next year, a smartwatch with the vitals, but really more of engagement services. And so check-ins to make sure that you're feeling okay, human touch points with our member services teams, and all of that information with these wellness checks going back to the caregiver, because the caregiver wants to be included. Certain caregivers are very detail oriented and want to know everything. Certain caregivers are hands off, just tell me when it needs to be, when I need to be alerted. But either way, we're closing that loop because the caregivers need to be involved in this in this evolution of their parents aging, and they need to be informed of information. And it can't just be when the emergency happens. It's got to be day over day in check-ins on how are they feeling. How are they feeling mentally? How are they feeling from a physical perspective? And we have to provide a stickiness and a level of trust in the brand that we're here not just for the emergency, that we're here to help you age successfully in your home, to help improve your longevity in your home. And by using these services, we can get you there. And that's what we're really putting a lot of time and energy into, which is how do we evolve this industry and almost create a category of our own, which is, helping people live longer in their home is our main goal, where
Right.
it's always been connected and tied to when an emergency happens, we're here for you. We really want to be, in people's hands 10 years earlier when they're just starting to
Mm-hmm.
feel some of um, these impacts of aging or conditions, and really can look into these devices and feel like this is for me. This is something that I can grow into. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that I'm old. That doesn't
Right.
mean that I have to stop with the independence. More so that it's giving me confidence to live that life. It's a hard thing to reverse after so many years of it being not that way. But we're
Mm-hmm.
working aggressively to make sure that that's the case.
Well, and you're right. It's about that confidence for that individual who's using it, but something that's so important, and you touched on, is it's that peace of mind. And sometimes that phrase is tossed about and becomes cliche. But if you're that
Yeah.
caregiver, that adult child, and especially if with so many families being distributed across the country right now, I mean that's a huge thing right there of being able to it's your own confidence, the confidence of that child and that caregiver, knowing, hey, God forbid something happen. And whether it's an emergency or just whether it's knowing that it's okay, because even though we have phones, we are connected to everything, you can't always be there. You don't know. And I think
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
equally as important, I think, is someone who, and again, my mom, not I, your customers. I mean, I don't know if every individual is going out purchasing this, but I know it's something I would purchase for my family member, So it's because it helps both ways.
Yeah. The question is this something you'd purchase for yourself eventually? That's where we
Well,
need to get to, where you're saying this is
yeah.
definitely something I'm going to get for myself when I become older, or you're going to have the same obstacle that your parents have, which is, this isn't for me. We really need to. That's the key.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that though. So I turn 60 next year, and my kids are in their 20s and 30s. But even then, and you start off this conversation talking about your own children, how we start earlier. Yeah, with them, it's my daughter in particular, and oftentimes caregiving falls upon the oldest daughter, the oldest child, and the oldest daughter in most cases. It is, hey, proof of life. Where are you? I need to know where you're at. And so, yeah, I think so much. I do a lot of work in addition to caregiving, but because it's an advanced adulting topic, but in this idea of careers and ageism is an interesting one. And I think that's
Yeah.
funny because a lot of people don't realize, hey, one day you're going to be old. One day you're going to be that person. And it's the same thing with this as, one day you wake up and you're like, oh, you know, and I joked around about this, not long ago. I went out to run some errands and I come back and I'm describing to Shannon. I said, this group of old guys, and they were about in their 70s. And she goes, whoa, hold up. You're the old guy now. Think about that. You're an old man now. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, so, as long as we know that tools and options are out there, then yeah, and we're going to be better adopters, early adopters anyway.
I think so. Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
That's the hope. I think the more people care about their health, the more proactive they are about their health, even when it comes to things like screenings, and
Yeah.
staying proactive with the flu shots, and like simple things add up over time. And so, hopefully we can be a part of that story. I think there's a level of insights that certain people want about, are you staying active with your steps?
Mm-hmm.
Are you not moving enough? There's a lot of insights that we gather from these devices that we can populate a lot of great, meaningful insights about people's health. But I keep coming back to it. Ultimately, we want people to be wearing these things, not to know that they're there. They're
Right.
lightweight. They're easy to use. They're simple to use. But
Yeah.
ultimately, that it's going to help them in these situations.
It's funny when people say, oh, whether it's the older folks, whether it's, Xers, boomers, whatever. Oh, they don't know technology. They can't adopt technology. Go, what? I used a cassette tape. Let's make mixtapes. Okay. I think we're going to start to evolve pretty well. But there's a lot of technology
Yeah.
out there. But I think that's one of the hard conversations, not tech aversion, but this idea of just adoption, I think is probably a better word for it. What are some ways you recommend that people can have those conversations, those adoption conversations with a loved one? We'll get back to the conversation in just a second. Here on the Advanced Adulting Podcast, we talk about the real things that we all encounter at midlife and beyond. And one of those very real things that many of us face is caring for an aging parent or loved one. And we all share the same goal to keep them healthy, independent, and safe. And that's exactly why I'm proud to share that today's episode is sponsored by Medical Guardian, an advanced adulting partner. The truth is, more than 90% of older adults want to age at home. Home represents freedom, independence, and the ability to keep doing the things you love. And while independence can come with challenges, there are proactive ways to stay safe and confident. Did you know that 1 in 4 older adults experiences a fall each year? If you or a loved one has ever gone through this, you know you're not alone. What matters most is being prepared, because while we can't prevent every fall, we can make sure help is always available right away. And that's where Medical Guardian comes in. Since 2005, they've been empowering older adults with simple, reliable medical alert devices that provide peace of mind and help keep independence within reach. With Medical Guardian, you can continue living life on your terms, knowing that if you ever need help, it's just a button press away. For caregivers like us, that means peace of mind, knowing your mom or dad or partner can get immediate help in an emergency, and knowing you'll be kept in the loop when they do. So if caregiving is part of your journey or will be soon, this is the one step you can take today to keep your loved ones safe. Visit medicalguardian.com/adulting75 to learn more and get 75% off the MGMini Lite, exclusively for advanced adulting listeners. Because at the end of the day, nothing matters more than keeping the people we love safe, connected, and confident at home. Now, let's get back to the conversation. To get them comfortable.
Yeah, and this is primarily our biggest obstacle, because a lot of the times you have a caregiver purchasing for a loved one, for the member and the user of the device, and then come to find out they purchased this and they don't want it.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of content around the best ways to do this, and I think it's hard. I think it's hard for a number of reasons. One is we're dealing with a generation that everyone has to remember. If they don't, like, this is a generation that went through a lot in history of overcoming obstacles, of dealing with a lot, whether it be politically or wars, or famine. Like, there's a lot. So they're tough, they're rooted, they're independent. And so what that comes across as to the caregiver or to the child is that they're bullheaded, right? They're stuck in their ways, and they don't see it the way I see it. I think the problem is, or the obstacle typically is, most people try to approach these types of conversations with what's in it for the caregiver, right? This is going to help me know that you're safe. This is going to help the family have peace of mind. But I think most times you forget to approach it as, like, what's in it for the person using the device, and why? Why is it important now? And the real reason is because you want to live as long as you can in your home. I mean, we do polls and results all the time. AARP does polls and results all the time. It's always to the tune of 75% plus people wanting to live in their home for as long as possible. And I think that's really the goal. That's the goal. And so if these devices can help in that way, I think it should be portrayed that way and have that real honest conversation. But people are people, and I think it takes time, and I think it takes really strong heart-to-heart conversations. Which there's some families that are really great at that heart-to-heart conversation. There's some families that don't do that. Right there, they don't share and collaborate and communicate that way, and so I think they have a little bit more of an uphill battle. But I don't think there's any one size fits all. I think it's just sitting down and having that really honest and open conversation about, what do you see for yourself in the future? How do you see yourself living alone independently? Most have a spouse that has passed away and they're living by themselves as a widow. So, how are you going to take care of yourself? And here's a device and a solution that can help. That can help me know that you're okay. That can help you know that you have something in case, God forbid, anything happens. And And it's something that's going to, create a better relationship between us so that I don't have to have a conversation with you about are you okay and what's
Right.
going on in your life and from a safety perspective. Like I can have real meaningful uh, conversations about you and us and our families, and not
Hmm.
as much about your safety and independence and are you going to be okay living alone. I think that's meaningful. Is like being able to have really good candid conversations instead of this "you're getting old now" conversation is,
Right.
I think, worth it in its weight of gold of not having that continual. Because I
Yeah.
think these conversations, I think people's fear is distancing yourself from your family. The more
Hmm.
you have that conversation, like you don't want to even embrace the conversation anymore, and that means just not talking to the individual anymore, which is the worst thing that can happen. The biggest cause of falls from all the research is actually social isolation, is
Hmm.
not having anybody around you, and then the depression sets in, and
Right.
that sets off a ton of different conditions, and it worsens rapidly than anything else. And now all of a
Hmm.
sudden you're in the same boat that you didn't want to be in, which is you have to go into a senior living facility. You have to live with your family, and you can no longer live independent. So I think that's the key, is really trying to figure out the best way to communicate to that specific person and being a good listener,
Right.
just like anything else.
Well, it's funny. I think that, there's no hard data on this, but everyone I've talked to, and the advanced adulting followers, it's a situation of, what, talk about a stubborn adult or stubborn parent. They exist, and no one wants to be. That is one of the most challenging things for both the adult child and caregiver and the individual is, parenting the parent. And unfortunately, too
Yeah.
many times, because as we start out this conversation, it becomes this 911 situation. We got to do something now, and it becomes a, here, do this. Well, no one wants to be told what to do, especially someone who is fiercely independent. And you're right, they want to live alone. They would still see themselves as vibrant and capable, and to be told what to do. And that's not, everybody's coming at it from a good spot. Their heart's in the right place. It's just a matter of, that's when the fear comes in of, oh my God, what are we going to do? We have to do something. But that idea of helping them, I love what you said, that idea of helping them understand, hey, this helps you stay independent. And what you said about, how do you see yourself, I think that's probably one of the biggest things, because if you really start to have those honest conversations, and that individual will open up, I think that's probably a big fear, is not just being alone or lonely, but what's going to happen. And no one wants to acknowledge that. But if you're just sharing with them and giving that opportunity of, hey, how do you see yourself, how do you want to live, and this will help you achieve that, that's good stuff right there.
Yeah. It's just like anything else. In order to be a good listener, you have to ask a lot of questions.
Hmm.
So if you're coming with this with a bunch of statements, you're
Yeah.
naturally going to get people turned off. If you're inquisitive and
Hmm.
very really just curious, right? How are you? Like not not how are you? Like mom, how are you? Like tell me, I want to know the
Yeah.
plan. Like can you give it to me? And the more that
Hmm.
they talk and answer the questions, the more they're talking themselves into, oh, you're right. Like this is something that I should be concerned about.
But
But it's that acknowledgement. They have to come to the conclusion by themselves.
absolutely. And there's just easy ways to do that. I mean, like, it's doing it ahead of time. I mean, there's so many things, whether it's this or the financial conversation, or unfortunately, even the post life situation. Having those conversations, but that is difficult, but solves so many problems down the
Yeah.
road. And just allows you to be in the moment. And I think that's one of the things we talk about, peace of mind. I mean, something like this just allows you to be present in the moment and enjoying living right now, rather than wondering, oh my God, when's the other shoe going to drop?
Right. Right. Which is
Yeah,
not a good way to live.
no, not at all.
Well, I'm
Um,
curious. I'm curious from your
yeah,
side. I know you're the one
yeah.
asking the questions, but I'm curious from your side. What is it that, um, what is it from your situation that delayed you from, talking to your mother and trying to get a solution in place?
And I know I'm not alone on this. Everyone's situation is unique. I totally respect that. With us, it was, sadly, I mean, I'm sure some people comment, "Oh, you bad son." We didn't want to hurt her. Okay, we didn't want to hurt her. My mom was morbidly obese, which was, caused a whole other host of health issues, and so for her, falling was bad and inevitable, and made life 10x worse. but we were so, um, I'd say 20% of it was selfish because we knew there's going to have to be a lot of heavy lifting done, no pun intended, in terms of where's she going to live, who's going to pay for it, what are we going to do? All those conversations everybody has, and we just frankly didn't want to deal with it right now. That's part of it. But the other was we knew that she was helpless in a lot of ways, and that this would be robbing her of her independence, of making decisions for her. And so, sadly, and I know I'm not alone on this, would I done it differently? Absolutely. But I think it was that fear of hurting her feelings rather than just saying, "Hey, we love you. We want you to be independent. Here's what we need to do."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're in the majority. I don't
Yeah.
think people are hard on themselves a lot about this situation, but you're in the majority in this case scenario. It is, from what we've heard and what we've found, it's tremendously hard unless the older adult is willing and active and embracing, like it's their decision.
Oh,
You know,
you should be so
it's just a
lucky.
hard
I
situation.
mean, it is a hard situation. I
Right.
think that's the thing. And it's funny. I mean, I said that a moment ago about, everyone talks about, yeah, you only know it from hindsight. But when people say you need to plan early or you need to prepare or you need to take some initiative rather than be reactive and be proactive, boy, listen to them. And really, it doesn't mean you have to have, look, if you have a plan worked out, great. If you know what you're going to do, great. But I mean, the more, um, what I found was interesting is, and I know you all see this too, I'm sure, there's so many parts to caregiving, so many parts to this. And whether it is, like I said, the finances, where is she going to live? Is she safe? Check-ins, all of these things that if you could almost piecemeal it, say, all right, I know she's living alone. I know that we at least have a way to monitor, is she safe, or keep track of things. Had we
Right.
been able to do something like that ahead of time, when and if something happens, it's not this overwhelming sense of we have to handle five different things instead of two different things.
Well,
I don't think enough
right.
people understand how that really works.
It's like the floodgates open all at once. And I think most people avoid it because there's so much going on. There's 63 million right now in 2025. There are 63 million unpaid caregivers, and that number is only going to continue to balloon. The ratio is 4-1 now. In 2030, it'll be 7-1. There'll be 7 seniors for every 1 caregiver. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not enough beds and senior living facilities in the country that are going to be able to even take on, regardless of if they want to or not, that
Right.
amount. So this really is a crisis when you think about it. And we just have to reimagine the way we see independence. And it has to be that of needing assistance and being
Mm-hmm.
courageous and embracing these type of solutions relative to thinking that they're here to restrict you, which inevitably leads to your decline. I'll tell a story real quick. So we
Sure.
have the fortune to get a free device. I've been here for medical guarding for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I love the mission. I love the culture. I love what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. We are fortunate enough to get a free device for as long as we're at medical guardian, which means I had the ability to give my grandma, who's been wearing it for 5 years now, the device,
Mm-hmm.
and she's had 5 different emergencies, all of different sorts. And
Mm-hmm.
the one that got me the most, I guess I would say, choked up, or like how it was clear these services really are impactful, is she was at her home. She loves ribs. She was eating ribs and choking on a rib bone.
Oh my God.
And husband right there, right next to her, button around her neck, and she's saying, like, I need help. And he's in the moment, because you don't know what's going to happen when how
Right.
you react in the moment, is looking around. He couldn't figure out how to call 911.
Oh my
He
God.
couldn't remember the numbers to 911. And so she pushed the button, and they came and they gave her the Heimlich and they saved her life and they brought her to the hospital. But that's a situation where, how do you plan for that? How do you,
No.
if I'm her, I'm saying, I'm living with my husband. I'm perfectly
Mm-hmm.
okay. He's going to take care of me if something happens. No
Mm-hmm.
problem. And this is just a situation where you think you're okay, even if you're living with a family member or multiple family members, there's still the situations where they're not there.
Right.
And so I think most people try to talk themselves out of it. Like, "Oh, I don't need this because this or that or this." And, you know, again, it's just, we're just spending so much time and energy listening and trying to understand why. Um, and really putting into the communications, into the branding, into everything we can think of, the devices, the
Hmm.
service. Like, how do we make this about aging confidently and less about this negativity or stigma that surrounded these devices in this industry?
Right.
So the more that we can do, I really find it my personal mission to get there, because if we can save even one life additional because of some of the ways that we portray the marketing and the mission and what we're looking to do, that's worth it.
Well, and you hit it on the head. I mean, for eh, the previous marketing to this, you're right. It was something that, fear based, weak. I've fallen, and the whole thing. And it's funny how it's not a marketing trend. It's just a way of life now as a trend of people actually want to live. It's not like, oh my God, I need something when I'm in my decline. It's I actually want to live as confidently as possible. And I think that's the thing, whether you want to use words like vibrant, energetic, confident, anything like that. And the coolest people I know,
Right.
yeah, you see them, and again, I'm not old by any stretch. I'm about to turn 60, but I've had my first glimpse into, hey, things don't work quite like they used to, and it is this panic moment, you know? And it is, you have a fork in the road, and it's a matter of, do you want to live in fear of, oh my God, and you start going inside, and that's when you're talking about social isolation and things, or you say, no, look, I want to figure out a way to give me the clearest, most unencumbered path possible to really live. And if I have to incorporate some things in my life to do that, then let's do it. Let's bring it on. And I think, you're
Yeah.
I love your approach, and you're going to find more people adopting this, younger and for their loved ones as well.
Yeah.
What?
That would obviously please me greatly,
Yeah.
and fulfill this mission.
Um, you said you'd been with the company for a long time, which, my background experience as a recruiter, I have to say A plus, because not a lot of people, when the average tenure is probably 2 years with a company now before they leave. That says a lot
Yeah.
about you and the company as well. The other thing, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about this. You know, I'm always fascinated by people who, whether they're an entrepreneur or a founder or someone who's in the space for a long time, and people have personal stories. Very rarely is it a money grab, or hey, I've just I went there because it was a job. People stay and get into it because they're passionate about it. I mean, tell me a little bit about why you stay and what you like so much about this field.
Yeah. I get questions about this from pretty much every new candidate that I'm interviewing for a new position, um, because I do, to your point, most find it rare to be in a position for so long. I started here in 2013, and I started at a place that was selling medical alert systems, and I don't know, how am I, 20, 28, 29 years old, and um, it's not a sexy industry. I mean, it
Right.
it's something that most people don't gravitate towards. For me, I came from doing pharmaceutical media buying, and so
Mm-hmm.
like I loved healthcare. I love everything about healthcare. I love the embetterment of people's lives through marketing that can get them to adopt faster, especially if the service is actually truly helping.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always resonated with me. Um, the second thing I always say is, why? Well, my medical guardian, we've just always thought about it differently. And our CEO Jeff Gross is amazing. He builds this fantastic culture of transparency and collaboration, and he's got amazing emotional intelligence and always helping people navigate anything that's going on in their lives, and being a great listener. So that culture resonates throughout this entire space. So you can feel it when you walk in the doors. And
Mm-hmm.
that also resonates through sales rep, speaker, or life safety consultant, we call them, speaking directly to the member on the phone call, or the member support team, talking to them about the solution. And so, what really resonates with me is that we're always constantly trying to innovate, and innovate in a way that's not just about how do we make and drive more revenue. It's always innovate to how do we get these devices in the hands of as many people as possible. How do we reimagine what these services can be, to really remove that stigma? And it just stuck with me. I think I've always been an entrepreneur and innovator at heart, and to have these types of services and these types of solutions and the ability to put a dent in an industry that's been the same way for so long is is inspiring for me to try to figure out. It's like the largest problem that I haven't been able to quite solve for, that I'm just really confident in dedicating my whole career to trying to figure out how to get these devices to be approachable and something people embrace.
What are you most excited about right now? Anything, life, business? What's the most exciting thing going on?
Oh, but we're transforming this business. We're doing kind of really creative and interesting things across the entire business, so that's exciting. Watching my kids grow up and become young adults, even at
Mm-hmm.
the young age. I can already starting to see the personality come through and the maturity
Right.
come through in kindergarten. So, that's been amazing. I think it's been a journey to try to figure out, the same thing for my parents. We started talking about this, and then I say, how hard it is. And then I've just been really proactive about how do I, get in front of my parents earlier, start talking about these things, get them comfortable with these type of conversations. So that's been its own thing. I mean, it's an interesting journey hitting close to your 40s, and you're really starting to experience a lot of new things,
Right.
exciting things, and then some not exciting things, and juggling it all.
Yeah.
So I've been really proactive about, like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Doing a lot of
It's good.
research, learning, listening to podcasts like this, and trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand. I think it's helpful to understand what other people, their situations, and because it helps you know that you're not the only person out there experiencing, these things, and that there's help out there for you.
Good. Well, you all are doing good work, and you got a lot to look forward to. There's a lot more to come, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. All right. So you have a time machine, and you get to go back, and you're still young, but you get to go back. Let's call it 20 years, and your even younger self. What advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not entirely sure I would listen, even if I had that ability.
You're not the only person to say that. A lot of people say,
I
"Oh,
think
it
a
wouldn't
lot of it you
matter." Yeah.
it's true. I think you just have to experience these things firsthand. It's hard to avoid them without experiencing them. I would just say probably, for the most part, to trust your gut and to
Mm-hmm.
go with that initial feeling that comes up. Typically, it's the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to remain confident in your path, and that good things will happen, and enjoy life. I think oftentimes you just stress about work, or you stress about everything. There's always something that you have to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just to be present in the moment, and really enjoy those experiences. Because the more I flip through this phone, Apple has the photo gallery where it brings up all the old pictures of your
Right.
family, even like from a couple
Yeah.
days ago, and you're flipping through it, and you're like, oh, like, time's moving so fast. So just really embrace it, and enjoy life when it's here.
It's good. All right. Matt Guerrieri, doing good stuff. Keep it up, and thank you for being on Advanced Adulting.